over towards my vanishing point. We already put in the vanishing point. So here's one right here. Remember, they're going to have slightly different angles depending on where they're located in the drawing. So they're not, if you start thinking, oh, all these lines are parallel, bad word, stop what you're doing. The relationship they have is that they are going to the vanishing point. See, I need something longer, so I just use my ruler. That's great. And then this middle line here will need to go to the vanishing point. The vanishing point, as you remember, is an X as opposed to being a blob, because it's more accurate that way. Then here I have a curve, so I'm going to put my pencil on the vanishing point and swing it over till it hits the edge of the curve. That's where the curve was, and then I have a corner right here, the vanishing point. So I'm just taking all these corners I can find off towards my vanishing point. The corners that are on the other side of my objects won't be in the drawing, because the drawing's not going to be transparent, so I don't have to put those in. Okay, now that I've done this, I'm going to decide how thick do I want my letters to be. And so all the drawings are going to have a slightly different look to them. So let's see, how thick do I want to, and this is just personal preference. How do I want this thing to look? I would probably start this on some type of a corner type area as opposed just to being in the middle of somewhere. So I'm going to say about this thick. Okay, I've now created a corner. Everything else is kind of set in stone right now. So the front, these are parallel, these two lines. So I know across here on the back side, these are also going to be parallel. So to finish off the top of the K back here, put my pencil on that. I'm going to use the angle on the edge of the paper. Don't forget that step to draw a very horizontal line, and these two lines line up together. See, I use my angle. I just picked a spot here. That was my creative decision. And then I'm just kind of transferring the information around. Here's a little line here on the front. It's vertical, so I'm just putting a little vertical line here. The main thing we're doing is we're making our letters go to the vanishing point. Right now I'm just doing the details. I'm taking this all around the whole thing. So this part of the K is done. Now we have a corner here. It's going to mimic what's going on in front, or mirror what's going on in front. So it's a little harder to work with this angle, so we're going to have to estimate based on this angle right here. Get as close as I can to what that angle is. And our other drawings, we're not going to have these estimated things all that often, but this drawing we do. So that came down, made this corner. Now I have a corner again. I can look at this angle as a reference, as close as I can to that same angle, bringing that down here. Now I have another corner. I'm going to erase off. If your drawing is very complicated, I encourage you just to keep erasing things as you go. And then here I've created another corner here. The top of this is very horizontal. This will be a horizontal line. So I'm going to put my pencil here, use the edge of the paper, and start drawing this across. Now it's horizontal, but then all of a sudden it makes a curve. I can see the point at which it starts to curve, so I'm going to take that up to the vanishing point just to kind of have a reference, and extend this line here, edge of the paper. And then here I know from here down is a curve. I'm going to try and mirror this curve as much as I can. This is a kind of a creative thing I'm doing right now. And then that got me to there. I have another corner I forgot about. You might have the same thing. You might forget about a corner that's right inside the R right here. It's pretty thick, so I know the line's just going to go across. If you can't tell if you're going to see it or not, just pretend you're on the back side. On the inside, you could draw the inside. So that corner will be right about here inside. You're not going to be able to see it here, so you can erase it again. You have to figure out, can I see that or not? In this case, you can't. So this comes down here, It's a little bit below, let's see, that would be about here. I'm trying to figure out, this time I'm going to have to just estimate the way it's set up. I could continue this curve as if I was drawing it, about how far would it come down. Yeah, I think it's right about there. I tried estimating it twice, it came up in the same place. And then I'm going to mirror this angle here. So if it's horizontal or vertical, you know what to do. You use your angle on the edge of the paper. If it's not, if you have some curves to work with or funny angles, this particular project, you're going to have to do a little estimating. So here's my two initials in perspective. Then at this point, what I would do is pick up your paper, turn it, look at the vanishing point, and make sure all those angles are turned up towards that vanishing point. So just look across the project. If I was there with you, I would be picking up you'd raise your hand, Mrs. Ross, I'm done. I'd pick up your paper, I'd kind of look at some of these things, make sure they all make sense, they're logical, and then I would do this to check that all your lines indeed went to the vanishing point. So from this point on, you get to decorate it. I'm going to show you some samples of some things. Here's one I made one year where I stylized my letters, and then I went ahead and I put in a pencil and a paintbrush just for fun. You can see it still goes up here to the vanishing point. So that's one thing I did one year. Here's some student samples, and they're all different, and you can just decorate it with your graphite pencils. Just make sure that it's neat and you've done a nice job. Another thing you could do is just use a black marker or a black gel pen even. Go through the lines. Don't hand draw the lines necessarily. I would use a ruler for the lines, but you could use just a gel pen and the graphite. That would look nice too. Or you can bring in color, either colored really nice markers or colored pencils. Here's some student samples with some patterns. You could tell this one probably took a while. Pretty colors. These are analogous colors, right? Similar colors. Here's a SpongeBob one. Here's kind of like a racing one. Just colors they liked. This one, these are in perspective, but the background really kind of distorts it, so it's pretty interesting. Here they have kind of a neat design they've put in. Here's another background where they use the same color, so it looks flatter, like the foreground was warm, the background was cool. You're going to get a lot of depth on it. But these are all fine. Here's one that looks like a flag. There's kind of a rainbow one. See, someone did their first name. Anyway, different ideas. And there's not a right and a wrong way. I saved these because I liked them all, right? So think of what you want to do to add some decoration to yours. I'm just showing you some samples. This one's just kind of fun. Ours is going to be smaller too. I want you to definitely be able to get this done today. So, main thing I need is your initials drawn somehow, and then lines going off to the vanishing point, and then kind of squaring them off back and forth with your angle, vertical, horizontal lines, and then sometimes you're just going to have to mirror what's going on in front with a line on the back side. Okay, so now I'm going to decorate mine. What I chose to do is use some colors. I'm going to think about with color theory. Remember, my favorite color happens to be red-violet. So I thought, what if I did a triad? So if I find my red-violet here, my two triad colors are yellow-orange and also blue-green. So this is a different version on the trout. So if I use these three colors, I know it's going to look really colorful, even though I have a limited colors. You can use any colors you want. I just wanted to say, remember, if we think about it, we can make it even stronger. And so I'm going to just start to color this in, add some details to it, and because it's a small drawing, I would probably be pretty careful with how I colored it in and doing a nice job with the details and so on. I'm probably not going to have you watch me draw the whole thing, but end the video pretty soon so you have time to just work on it. So I'm thinking I'll probably color my letters like this. I'll probably have this side of the letters be orange. Because the orange is kind of a light color, it's pulling up some of the graphite, which I think is kind of gross looking. But it is what it is. So I'm not doing my finishing job. I'm just giving you an idea of what mine will look like in a few minutes. And then maybe my background, just because I'm using color triad, I want it to look really bright. My background is going to be with the blue-green. I also thought it might look nice if the direction of my pencil is going towards the vanishing point in a sense. And then I'll have more of a kind of a strong dimensional look. In fact, I might have a few lines coming through here, and maybe I'll just concentrate it. Now you're only drawing this square. I do want you to leave it attached to the rest of the piece of paper because I want to be able to see your vanishing point over there, and if you did do some extra sketching, I'd like to see that. That wasn't mandatory, just maybe recommended. If it annoys you to draw over the edge, you can always put your angle right there and bump up against it. So I was thinking maybe I'd do something where my blue-green was darker on one side, on the other. If you're going to put in an outline, whether it's the outline is in the color or in black, extremely strongly recommend that you do your outline with the angle or the ruler. Otherwise the lines end up looking really wobbly. All those samples I showed you, the students did use a ruler or an angle to put these outlines in. So this is what I would go through the whole drawing and do this. I'm just showing you this is what it would generally look like. So I'm outlining it in black. You can do it in black, you can do it in the color, you can do it in, you know, whatever you want to do. If you want, this particular drawing looks nice with an outline, that's all. And then, and so on. So I could go ahead and do that through the whole drawing. So the rest of the time I would just be continuing to work on this drawing, make it look really, really nice. I would probably use, you know, at least part of this I would use pretty heavy pressure. So maybe the front of the case would come out something like this. Also, because the colored pencils are waxy, if you're using them, I would do those outlines before I did the colored pencil. Otherwise, the colored pencil is going to kind of resist the marker. And if you remember, the also gets on the marker and ruins the markers. So if you're doing that first. I would probably have heavy pressure, maybe light pressure, heavy pressure again, you know, something like that, so it makes it more exciting than everything being bright. But it's kind of up to you how you decorate it. The video is just over half an hour now. If you didn't draw your letters well, go back in the video to where I was drawing them. First I drew them to the vanishing point, and then I squared off the back side. I started in one place, which happened to be this corner. I suggested some corner in your drawing, pick a distance, and then use that as your reference as you work that same distance around the drawings. So anyway, once you get it drawn, and like I said, going back to this one, doing your best, as long as it's pretty good, doing your best. It's our first drawing here, and there's some places where I said you had to estimate, which means that you have a margin of error right there. So do your best you can, and in a certain point you're going to color it. Don't cut it out. Photograph it just like this and send it to me. I hope you love it. If we all like the slideshow, maybe we'll do a slideshow later of one of your perspective drawings. This could certainly be one. In that case, you could cut this square out later. But anyway, photograph it just like this, your name's on it, and enjoy the rest of the time. We have a lot of time left to work on this in class. Thank you, you guys. I hope this was fun today.